Hey friends. So, I had a lovely day today. Annalise was home from school, but her mama was not home from school. So, because of an in-service day, not because of any illness or anything. So I got a morning with the girl. We went to the zoo. It was awesome. Anytime this happens, I'm always reminded of these what feel kind of like two parts of my life or two aspects of my life where I have these creative practices that there's just never enough time. And there's always enough time, but there's infinite, it's kind of like maybe this is actually a sign. This is interestingly segueing into what I was going to talk about today, because it's like I feel like I've arrived at the place where I am aware that what I'm pursuing, that the experience of creative evolution and the work, the mastery of the crafts and the actual creative process itself, the journey of creation, is a multi-lifetime affair. I see that now because it's clear to me that I perceive potential and possibility, and I have enthusiasm for so much that a single lifetime is unlikely to contain it all. Not saying it's impossible, but it's actually healthy. It feels healthy to concede that it doesn't all have to happen now. I don't have to do it all now. I can perceive the beauty. I can allow the inspiration through me, and I can receive the kind of joy in perceiving these possibilities without needing to do it all, without needing to own it all. So that's the spirit in which I sort of let go into a kind of multi-lifetime perspective, where I'm like, I could explore this for 500. I have enough. There's enough things. I could probably rattle off enough things that I could take. It'd take me 500 years to explore them all. So anyway, I got there, funny enough, by spending time with Annalise at the zoo this morning, because that's another area of my life where, when she and I just spend time together, it's like being in a different universe. It's like being in a universe of our own. And I think that a 3-year-old, 3.5-year-old has she's so present to reality in the way she sees it. And getting to hitch a ride on that for a little while and see the world through her eyes and be part, and be part of that adventure. It's just so spectacular. I love it so much. So anyway, that was my morning. But even before that, I had a session this morning with a dear friend and a thought partner and student client, and we had a conversation about something that brought me to a distinction that stood out to me, because basically we were talking about something that I mentioned on my post a couple days ago about I had been practicing piano, and then after the practice session was a perfectly good, normal practice session. It wasn't like I felt particularly frustrated by anything, or it wasn't a particularly over-the-top successful practice session, but it was just a good, solid session where I felt like I made some progress. But afterwards, I noticed this residual tension in myself, and I could tell that there's a gap between where I am and where I want to go, and I had been trying to fill that gap with effort. I'm trying to make an effort to close that gap, but the irony is that effort actually makes the gap larger. Effort actually was repelling the progress that I wanted to be making. And so then, and really that was a diagnostic of my entire MO, because that's also a thing in life. That's a thing on a lot of levels for me. And my conclusion from that was that getting to a place of effortlessness, and even not even so much getting to a place of effortlessness, but starting from a place of effortlessness, actually showing up effortlessly, that's the new black. That's the new thing. Because whenever I do that, whenever I actually show up in that way, things start to sparkle. Insights start to come through. Movement starts to happen. I start observing and it's not just that presence that occurs is not. It doesn't remain amorphous. It turns into new perceptions, new specificity, new detail, new clarity. It's like that effortlessness creates the space for all the rest of it, for those new insights to show up. So anyway, that's where I started in the conversation today. That's kind of a quick recap of my post from a couple days ago, but that's where I started today. But where it took me was, there's still a difference between effortlessness and not making an effort. Because, and then what that concretized into for me was the difference between like effort and practice. Effort is the strain to achieve something, or to accomplish something, learn something, whatever it is. Effort is the effort. It's the pushing, the tension of stretching ourselves. And there comes a time when we learn, when we can clearly perceive that effort gets in the way of progress, because it's putting our focus on the limitation rather than residing in the unlimitedness. The effortlessness comes from unlimitedness. And that unlimitedness always contains the next step, and the next step, and the next step, and the next step, and the next step. That effort. So that if we think of that effortlessness not as not making an effort, not doing anything, but as being so present in the infinite that now the infinite is guiding us, whole different story. That's the distinction between effortlessness and not making an effort, or not trying. And so for me, effortlessness and practice, or effort and practice, the dichotomy becomes, we don't want to make effort. If we've gotten to the place where we know we don't want to make effort, because effort is actually repelling what we're going for, we still have to show up. I still have to go to the piano every day and show up in effortlessness. If I don't go to the piano every day, I'm also not going to make progress. It won't just be because I'm making effort that I'm not making progress. It'll be because I'm not showing up. So showing up and practice is really the art of showing up. That's really what it is. Practice is the art of showing up every day, or whatever the routine is. Doesn't have to be every day. It can be twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever the I don't work out every day. I probably don't work out often enough, truth be told. But the point is not that the practice needs to conform to some set of standards that is imposed upon us. We get to choose those standards. We get to create those standards. We get to feel it out for a while and decide what's right. But practice is showing up. And for me, in the case of like something like meditation practice, I really do feel like it has to be every day. And piano, I really do feel like it has to be every day. Except when I'm in a phase where the emphasis is on something else and I don't do it every day, but then I come back to it, and I come back to chunks of my life where I do it every day. But so that, I think what was showing up in my conversation this morning that was really beautiful was feeling the kind of like feeling this kind of effort versus effortlessness side of the coin, and like letting myself recognize what that effortlessness consists in, and what the process there is, and then saying or also clocking, yeah, but just not making an effort also isn't the key. So where does that, because a lot of times showing up every day feels like making an effort. It's not. So I don't trip and fall and land in front of the piano every day. I don't trip and fall and land in front of on my meditation cushion every day. I don't every single morning just without, like, blindly by default get up early and go do qigong. Those are practices. I have to show up, and there's a certain amount of what feels like effort to get over that, to maintain the practice, to actually show up. And so I think that's what I'm teasing apart in my own psyche right now, is, where those distinctions are, and where those lines are, and what's the most helpful way of framing it all, so that I'm showing up every day, but I'm showing up in effortlessness. I'm showing up in the ease that actually makes it all possible. So anyway, I think my daughter might be awake, so I'm going to go check on her. That's where I am today. Wonderful to see you. Love you all. Appreciate you. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.